All right, guys, we're back. Another fun-filled evening with some of NGS's best teams. We got ourselves Bad Manners facing off against Potato Esports. If you can say Potato Esports without wanting to do Potato, then you're not normal. So this is a heroic division game, so things should get really interesting here. We also have interesting map we don't see too often as a pick, especially in some of the lower divisions and in general. So we're going to be kicking things off right away with Battlefield of Eternity. So Battlefield of Eternity is definitely an interesting map. And we're going to see the Genji and Phoenix band out with Hanzo and Yrel to follow up. I like the bands all around. Yrel is very oppressive overall in her sustainability, her ability to endlessly slow depending on the build she goes. Basically, she's smashing some Goombas with that build and kicking it Nintendo style, or maybe even Whack-A-Mole. So we're going to get a Diablo as the first pick here. A very interesting first pick. He's definitely a high tier hero. It's been for Warrior Diablo. But that means Deckard Cain is definitely available for Potato Esports. Now, I'm all right. We're gonna get the Deckard Cain, just like I was saying. I definitely like the Deckard Cain. I don't know how I feel about going straight into the Diablo as a first pick. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not trying to say that it's bad. Diablo. I'm not sure how I feel about first picking Diablo and putting the priority on him so high. Now, one of the key things in Battlefield of Eternity, unlike other maps, is that there's a lot less macro involved in this on this particular map. If your team fight is strong and your general team positioning and your micro is very good on your team, Battlefield of Eternity is an excellent map to take your opponents to. There's significantly less ground to cover. It's sort of like a Braxis to a large degree, where rotations matter less, I'd say, on BOE than even on Braxis. Braxis, you can do some cheeky stuff, and you certainly can be a pain with how you rotate on Braxis. On BOE, you really don't get that nearly as much. So macro drops down even further in comparison to like BOE, where often it's your four-man that decides the game and how they execute. Same thing often happens on this map, how your four-man does in the bot lane. Can they get additional pressure? Can they take structures to get XP leads? Will they get kills? It really sets a tone for the game. But ultimately, it comes down to the immortal phase. Is your team built for racing defense? And what happens there is the biggest outcome, unlike Braxis, where the four-man really is the end-all be-all for the objective. So we're going to get the Artanis, which is going to be the solo lane and the racing potential. On the other side, we picked up the Muradin and the Greymane, while Garrosh and Alexstrasza were banned out. Now, Alexstrasza is strong. I almost feel like Stukov is actually a little bit better on this map. Now, it really depends. Alexstrasza is better if you're trying to race, because you can get yourself defense by knocking them away, and a significant amount of healing and forcing them to come and fight into you. Versus if you have Alexstrasza and you're trying to use her for defense, she's not nearly as good, because you literally walk away, wait for the dragon to drop, and come back and re-engage. Now, the only scenario that's beneficial is if you're up in structures and you're waiting for them to respond to things like catapults or shamans. So the final picks here are going to be Vala and Whitemane. Whitemane is an absolute beast. Vala, not so much an absolute beast. But they got themselves an insane amount of racing potential between Vala, Artanis, and even Li Ming. That's a very strong racing comp. On the other side, we have Greymane, who's definitely a good racer, but there's no way that he is going to single-handedly outrace the combination of Artanis and Vala. And the only way they could is if Muradin picks up Sledgehammer, and even then, I'd be hard pressed to see that as being the deciding factor in the race. So we also picked up as a final pick as a Tychus. This means they are very all in your face. Greymane going for some sweet booty between Lei Ming and Vala. That's and even Whitemane. That's a lot of booty for him to get. Now, Tychus has Diablo and Artanis. Diablo is value talent for Tychus, and there is still Muradin and Blaze to keep him alive and healthy. The racing is 100% a win for Bad Manners here, without a doubt. Now, the question is how well their defense can work. They have Blaze to set up stuns, Muradin to set up stuns, and Deckard, who can also root and slow. So they have a very high kill potential, and I think they have themselves a decent defense. Not the greatest, because Li Ming can assault them from afar. Even Vala can drop some hungering arrows and hope they connect onto the immortal. So it's going to be interesting if the defense is successful. I think they have a lot of tools in their bag to secure a lot of kills on the side of Potato Esports. Like most games at high levels, it'll come down to execution of these comps. And we might have one player who dropped. Yeah, we're stuck on the load screen. We're loading in slowly, guys. And now, this is where the macro will come in. How well Potato Esports responds to the race. And the same thing applies technically for Bad Manners. If you build a racing team and do not get over to the Immortal in time, then you're poorly macroing. If you rotate over to the defense much better, well, it makes it much harder to race at that point too. It just kind of becomes and so I'm not going to give it really to either team. We'll just have to see how they play out. If I really had to, I'm going to give a little edge to Potato Esports here. Largely because of the fact that there's a lot of squishy targets. Now, I'm assuming we will see the blind from Artanis, which is going to negate a large portion of the DPS on Potato Esports. Post 10, the fights are very likely to be a little bit harder for Potato Esports and can definitely go the other way now. But pre-10, I think this is all about Potato Esports. All right, guys, we're in the game. We're going to hop on into this bad boy. We got Kina going on in with that Whitemane. We got Stixa on the Li Ming. Got Dami on the Elvin Vala. And finally, we got VCR player there with a Prime Evil Diablo and a Rubber Duck on the Artanis. And that's going to be Bad Manners. On the other side, we got Ebagatron on the Deckard, Infofox on the Muradin. We got Threeses on the Tychus, and Couchy on that Greymane. And finally, we got Mr. Setchel on the Blaze, and that is going to be Potato Esports. All right, guys, we're going to check out what level 1s we have here. We got ourselves the Power Hungry, the Devil's Due, the Amateur Opponent, the Martyrdom, Monster Hunter. Then we got the Viciousness, Dash, Perfect Storm, Neural Stimpack, and Scroll of Identity. Or Identify, sorry. Not Identity. They're not having an identity crisis, but they are having Identify Party. So, very good opening for the side of Potato Esports. They've already gotten a significant amount of pressure. Like I was saying, pre-level 10, I think they win this easily because there's no blinds. And you can see VCR player getting chunked down heavily from Threeses. Now he'll be tapping on up, healing on up pretty quickly there. Remember, he does have the Devil's Due, which means he gets significant value. And Infofox will be picked on up and put right over. A little dwarf toss in action, not fully going on, but just a little bit there. And with that, in the bot side, they pick up the Mercamp pretty easily. Interestingly, Satchel did actually rotate down. He will tap. I'm assuming they wanted him to start coming in case they invaded, which would have been a very interesting macro play overall because they'd give up a significant amount of soak. If we're taking a lot of damage, has to be very careful here, and it will have to back up. He can't sit around doing this forever as well. This is definitely a dangerous game to play with a Li Ming ready to drop some damage onto him. There goes a VCR player onto Info. Will not be able to get the follow-up over power. Oh! Sticks his orb. Just the tip, baby. That's all it takes. And Info Fox, okay, we got ourselves a pause going on. And Lagif. So we're going to have to take a little break here as Lagif has taken over for some of the players. I think there's something going on with the internet in general. I've noticed at least one site went down. See if that site is Groundhog. There's some great commentary in this game by both teams. Okay, they're ready. They didn't need to actually count down. All right, we're back. We're back in this bad boy. We're gonna keep up with action. Unfortunately, the chat will take a minute to disappear there. And with InfoFox all tapped up and ready to go, gonna lay down the law, show that he can land some storm bolts onto whoever he chooses. Now in the top lane, we got pretty even overall. With the tap, I assume we had from Mr. Setchel, it'll be, you know, down for the immortal phase, but Threeses is coming on up. The swap miss, and Rubber Duck is looking like he might be going down, but this jet propulsion will not land, and he just manages to get away by the skin of his teeth. Now, Racing Team is not in position to quite race. They don't have... Oh, Mr. Satchel has to be careful here. If they decide to engage on him, you can see the race already going on. They're going to start the defense, but it's already 25% off of that bad boy. The scroll coming on out will get 3 members, and Rubber Duck coming on in as well. And now, really, they just need to rely on Stixa to poke this down. They do have the bot lane being pushed in, and they're going to get some significant value. Couchy here trying his best to get the immortal race in their favor. However, they need a clear bottom. You can see Mr. Setchel heading on there now, and they are trying to have a 5v4, which is definitely not in their favor. RNG's bless them this day. VCR getting rather low. Threes is doing his best to take down the Big D, and it won't happen, but halftime is happening, and the Racing Team of Bad Manners has a perfect position to safely do this. And so bottom gets a significant amount of value out of those shamans. And with that, they're getting essentially double the value here. They get a ton of value in the bot lane out of the shamans. They win the immortal phase, and they're just looking to push ahead in the structures now. So a quick look, we have ourselves Dominance, Souls to the Flame, the Shield Surge, Unwavering Faith, and Puncturing Arrow. On the other side, we have the Insatiable, which I'm not really a fan of. We have the Bigger They Are, which I really like. The Sledgehammer, so we will get the extra race coming out of Muradin. The Oil Dispersal, and finally Potion of Shielding. Now, they won't get too much out of this, Bad Manners. It's a very early immortal unless they happen to get significant amounts of kills. Threes is just nailing Kina super hard in the face with that minigun. Diablo rooting in place. Threes is trying his best to take down the Big D, and Couchy coming on in, looking for the booty, but not going to land it on Dami. Instead, Keena's going to be hit with it, and Couchy still looking for the kill. Come on. But this is actually really awkward position for Couchy right now. He will get through, getting onto VCR, who will come on into InfoFox, and with that, the dwarf has been tossed, and he will be sent back to his base. Oh, Threes is getting extremely low there. So they pick up the kill that would give him a little bit more to push down, but they're actually going to just go back tap and get the top camp as well. Infofox will be back and ready for action in just a few seconds. So they're not going to be able to get much more except if they can push top very heavily. And those goats really don't do a whole lot. In the bot lane, however, a rubber duck has hit the tipping point, if you will, for how easy it is for him to 1v1 against Blaze. With the shield surge and the Solo Right Reaper, he now does a significant damage increase. He has a significant increase in his shielding. And on the other side for Blaze, well, Blaze really just has some extra damage coming on out and no extra survivability. So bottom, everyone rotates down to, but in the meantime, top lane is a winning trade. Infofox tanking that for a while. He does have the sledgehammer, and they will take down both of the towers, which really does open up this lane for them significantly. In the bot lane, however, they do get those goats, but they don't take down anything additional, and they now need to get ready for the defense. Goats already picked up in the bot lane. They still have a few more seconds before the shamans are ready to go as well. Very beautiful oil dispersal coming on out and keeping VCR locked down for a hell of a long time. You can see how little HP he has left after that. The orb coming on out, not going to land well, but a beautiful stun onto Tychus. But they'll trade on out. The Immortal coming in with that big old alley-oop, and they take down 2 members for the Tychus. And they're looking for a rubber duck. Is he going to be melted? And they do land the stun. They're still looking for more, and they're going to just call it a day. So the big deal here is they get the kill. They need to now get Couchy doing his thing, chewing through the Immortal as best as they can. And at this point, they're actually winning, in part due to that great defense. However, Infofox is all alone. The stun from the Immortal, or was that the hammer? That was actually hard to see. The swap, though, Infofox is in a world of pain right now as he's in the middle of a 5-man and will be obliterated. At this point, though, they can still defend this, as this is going to be a 3v2. And actually, sorry, they do rotate down more at this point. So it is now an awkward situation for both teams. They were losing the race, but because they have such a better race, they will still win it ultimately. And, well, Threes is trying to continue to poke down VCR. Will chunk him down a hell of a lot. But Dami coming on in hot, dropping some arrows. And remember, level 10 is where I think this game becomes much easier for Bad Manners. And we'll see if Potato Esports can endure. They do have a lot of tools here. We're talking about Curse Pullet is going to be the choice for Greymane, so really take down VCR. It's a little bit of anti-synergy there between the Curse Bullet and Tychus, because Tychus is chewing through the health pool, and Curse Bullet is going to, at the same time, already take a large chunk of HP down. So a lot of damage. We got the Curse Bullet coming on out from Couchy, but the fort will fall regardless. They do have the rest of their heroics still available. Odin is up for a little bit amount of time. A beautiful blink from Styx just to avoid Rubber Duck trying to escape. Infa going to take a boatload of damage from the Rain of Vengeance, slowing him down. And the orb onto his face. Infa still looking for it. And Mr. Satchel coming on in hot. Not going to land a big stun. But there's a swap and a half. I don't even... Diablo looked like he just basically slid through back onto the Muradin there, basically chasing after the swapped target. Now, VCR player taking a lot of damage, but not falling, in part because of the great healing Kina's been putting out here. So they lose the fort, but they're roughly even still in actual XP. So Potato Esports is in a situation where the game is only going to be harder and harder. There comes the Curse Bullet, Threes is in tow, and the minigun getting so much value. There's the blind. Oh, they'll get the kill regardless of the blind. And this is going to be great for Potato Esports. We got the rotation coming on in. They know that they're still here. They will get the vision, and VCR can go on through. We got Stixa coming on in, looking for a great charge, but without any damage landing. VCR is actually going to be trading on with Couchy chewing him up, with the demon being a delicious treat. Couchy dropping the curse ball onto Stixa, and Infofox and Toe stay a while and listen. Coming on out. They're looking for more. Couchy almost getting Dami, but a beautiful triple rain of vengeance. And Infofox looks like he just jumped on top of Dami, but Couchy is going to be taken down by Sticks, and no, it's a trade 2-for-1. Still looking better for Potato Esports. So that all started with the gray kill on a rubber duck. The thing that happened was Stixa didn't actually land the critical damage necessary to kill Couchy, and when that failed, they actually turned around and dished out an insane amount of damage, and VCR had nowhere to go. Curse Bullet did come out, was landed on a rubber duck, but it's not going to be too big a deal as of right now. We do have Infofox coming back, and Mr. Satchel can play tank for a little bit here. We got the minigun onto VCR. He will have to back on up, and a rubber duck is going to be out of this fight temporarily, and they have yet to pause the game for it. And so there will be one bot falling down. They're looking for the next onto Kina. Odin coming out. A lot of damage. The stun will nail him. And stay a while. Listen. Followed up. And Mr. Satchel getting the body block. The overpower will not be good enough to save the life of VCR player. Betamax is looking for, the win here. So a rubber duck out of this fight temporarily. And with all those deaths, Potato Esports are going to be very, very likely to win this Immortal phase. Now, halftime is still available. Taking a look, we have 78 souls on Diablo, so he's pretty tanky, but not at the point where he's has to be worried about dying and losing his souls. We did see the Disintegrate, the Lightning Breath, the Suppression Pulse. We have Scarlet Aegis as well. And we have the Rain of Vengeance. So it's really hard to kill people with Scarlet Aegis. You basically have a big heal, give them a lot of armor, and then continue to get DPS and healing simultaneously due to the way my main works. On the other side, we had the Quicksilver Bullets, the Relentless Soldier, Give Him the Axe, Crossfire, and Cube Mastery. Other side, on the Prowl, that's the stuff. Healing Static, and yet to have any choices for the 13. So that's the stuff is going to be great because of how much damage he's actually doing on the side of the Tychus on Threesis. So taking a note here real fast on what time we have, and then we have 10 minutes before we have to continue the game. Now, this is also a really good spot for Murden. He's reached the perfect storm completion. So he gets a lot of extra storm bolts out, which means a lot more stacking. And with the sledgehammer, it just gets more and more value out of it and makes it easier and easier to actually win these races. And eventually, well, we'll have a lot more damage. 12 versus 13, they have a little window to breathe here, Potato Esports, because they have a pretty big talent advantage overall. Some of these talents are overall really big. I mean, that's the stuff is huge. With amount of damage Threes is dealing, he pops that and he'll be topped off pretty much for free. We got the Healing Static, which then all of a sudden makes Murden much tankier. We have On the Prowl, which then means Couchy can catch people and get out much easier. And we have yet to see the Deckard Cain pickup. So even if they lose this Immortal, they have great defense. They have the Vala, who's now at 16 out of 20, and that's going to be a big deal once he completes it. 4 more stacks, an additional bounce, and with the repeating arrow, we have a lot of clear on this boss. Then we have Artanis with the amateur opponent, and we still have Li Ming, who can drop the orbs and magic missiles. So all in all, they have very good clear. And because they're a racing team, it still transfers for the defense post Immortal racing phase, if that makes any sense. So they can still clear and they can race, because the same things lead to generally good clearing. Now, they do have to be a little bit worried that they are down in structures on the side of Potato Esports. Nothing significant at this point, but they've already taken a little damage on this front wall, and that could be the opportunity to end the game, especially if it comes bot lane in Immortal, they take down the sidewall, and they can go around and actually fight. But that's still at least 2 Immortal phases off, unless of course they pick that up top lane before the next Immortal phase. So we still have a rubber ducky loading in. Sorry, a rubber duck, not a rubber ducky. He's still loading in. Should hopefully be in another minute or two. Of course, that chew through a significant amount of pause time that's available on the side of Bad Manners, as we already have 3 minutes. He's 3/4 of the way loaded. Now, small indie company, guys, can't do reconnection systems. Now, I really think it'll be key in how the suppression pulse is used. If they're using it for fighting, all right, so now we're back in thick things. A rubber duck back in action. So halftime has happened. They're down still for another 8 seconds, and they're going to have to just pick up this Immortal Phase defense, or play for the Immortal Phase defense. Infofox getting ready, does see what they're up to, but actually winds up helping them with this clear for Bruiser Camp. So the good news is that this will be pushing down. Well, actually, this is kind of bad news, because it'll be pushing in the bot lane. They just picked up the Shaman Camp. The Shaman Camp now will be cleared, very likely for free, as they'll actually push it up onto the wall, and they'll just come on down as a team and clear everything up rather quickly. So the Shaman Camp won't really get that much value. It's just acting as a delay tactic for the most part here. As you can see, they're not actually here to support it because they're clearing up that Shaman. But they didn't actually fully clear out the Shaman. This Immortal already down to no shield, and they're still working on it. There's the Cursed Bullet combo coming on out onto a rubber duck. We got Lightning Breath and stay a while and listen. They're still looking for the kill. The Immortal dropping another big old stun, but Infofox taking a ton of damage, trying to survive here. Will manage to do so. The bunker coming on out, and the finishing blow from Greymane with that Quicksilver bullets, the extra range, giving him the edge that he needed. And so that'll be the first kill. They are very likely going to look for potentially picking up 16 here with the towers. And with the extra advantage that talent could give them, they need to back off as well. This is a do or die moment for Bad Manners. Shaman Camp pushing top, 16's right around the corner, and if they can get 16, they're going to fight on their terms however they want. But oh my god, Threeses is in a terrible position. Threeses trying to solo Stixa here will not actually accomplish it with Infafox coming on in, going to land a big double stun. Threes will go down, and Threes is out in left field over there. And now we got a beautiful swap from a rubber duck. They're trying to take down Setchel. Mr. Setchel will be going down here in a 2-0. Threes is getting very cocky here and costing his team significantly. So this has taken a situation that was looking really good and turning it on its head. They get 2 kills. They're down still on talent tiers. They need to keep soaking. They don't have a bruiser camp available for another minute and 20 seconds. And that means that's a full minute before they can do anything. Now, Potato Esports should be very, very aggressive here. Positioned in such a way where they cannot safely soak. At this point, they should just be as a unit. You can see, well, they're clearing the bottom siege. They're going to rotate on up. And this is the worst place for Infafox and Threes to be, because this is where they can lose the game, as it's a 4v3 and was a 4v2 at that very moment. So now just rotate, look for the fight, and pick them off. You have the talent advantage. And you can force them to come with the defense that they have to do here. There's the damage onto Threes. VCR looking for the angle. Will not be able to charge on in quite yet. There's the overpower and actually going across onto Bagatron. Couchy looking for it. There's the lightning breath onto multiple members and the bunker. They're going to hop on in. There's the Odin. Damage from afar as they're going to try and take them down. Kina's super low. Infafox popping that avatar, looking for White Mane. There's the kill onto Vala, though. The big double stun in a rubber duck is up next. Infafox looking for more. Kina is not going to be able to survive this. Infafox landing a big Stormbolt to get themselves a 3-0 there. Actually, a 4-0 as VCR lost his souls. So I really like this play from Potato Esports. Potato is basically coming on in, going to take as much as they can prior to picking up the Immortal, because they actually have an advantage here. And they still have an advantage with their 16 talent here. So they leave Greymane to continue racing. They all focus down on getting, more pressure overall. And I really, really like this. They know that there's a small window, or enough of a window of time, to get double the value. Enough people are dead that it's just value town to go and take down the top towers, because that opens up the potential game winning push. So Mortal Race all but over at this point. I mean, you don't need to win against a team. You can win against a team who has a better Immortal Race by just killing them. And that's exactly what they've been doing on the side of Potato Esports. Kill them over and over. And so we got the top lane pushed on in, ready to go. And bot lane has the Shaman, but who cares? With a 75%, I really like this play. But they're going to be spotted on out, as this was a do or die play. And Potato Esports are a little bit more than your regular old-fashioned potatoes. They're some grade A potatoes. Only the finest. We got the ult from Scarlet Aegis coming on out a little bit early there. There's a rubber duck going on in. Not going to actually swap. Lightning Breath has been used. Keep is 100% going to go down. The blind is out as well. The mortal is already no shield, but it still has 80% of its HP. And a big stun. Kina is not going to be able to save the day, as 3 members are obliterated there in a blink of an eye. So let's check out that bad boy, as this is game. We got Bad Manners coming on in here. Nothing too special initially. A lot of heroics were burnt prior to this keep going down. We had Scarlet Aegis, the Suppression Pulse, and the Lightning Breath. We're going to see a big stun onto Dami. As you can see, Infafox lands it. The follow-up from Mr. Setchel is absolutely beautiful and devastating. Pure carnage at its finest from Potato Esports. Now, we're going to hop on back into the game and take a look at some of these damage numbers. Threeses, praise our Lord and Savior Threeses, because he just did 75.6k damage. 20,000 more than Li Ming. 25,000 more than Dami. That is 50% more damage than Vala dished out. Nearly the same for Li Ming. Couchy keeping up with Vala and generally Li Ming. In Infofox has turned Muradin into a grade A DPS, 41,000 damage with 4 deaths still. Imagine if he didn't die 4 times. Muradin might have been out DPSing Greymane during that game. And finally, on the other side, we had Artanis and Diablo taking up the rear dramatically in comparison to Infofox. And finally, the healing is almost even between the two. Now, the real breaker here is that Tychus just got so much value. So much value. If we're going to Value Town, we're riding Threeses all the way there. And you can imagine that however you like, but we're riding him. And clearly, Threeses is going to backpack the entire team, carry him on his back with the amount of DPS he did. And finally, VCR, though, did take an assload of damage, and he survived an assload of damage for many of those fights. 101,000. But Muradin staying right there behind him with 93, and Artanis on a rubber duck doing a significant amount of tanking as well, hitting 70k. But numbers don't lie, almost twice as many kills. So, yeah, Potato Esports takes it. So for those of you who just joined, Potato's ahead because their team comp was able to secure significantly more kills in those engagements, and then they got all those immortals. Really, the team fight was Tychus blowing the snot out of them, and Potato Esports then securing at least 1 kill, if not multiple. In several cases, they got multiple kills. And once they got those multiple kills, their lack of race team worked out 100% okay for him, because then Couchy clears it for free with the rest of the team. And with Sledgehammer there, Muradin still can dish out some decent damage on that mortal. So we'll be going to game 2. Sit on tight while we get the replays up and going. So hopefully you've all been enjoying the first game, because game 2 is sure as hell going to be just as good.